fortune favors the bold, and that is exactly what happened during the weekend for Fantasy Premier League managers who were able to captain the one and only Cole Palmer for Chelsea, because he produced a fantastic performance, scoring a record 4 goals in the first half against Brighton. And now today, we're back in studio, of course, to review what exactly happened for that match day 6 and give you the probable things that are meant to happen, or what we think will happen for match day 7. So my name is Brian and I'm back in studio with
Allan.
Yes, and here we go. How was your weekend, bro?
Bad.
Bad? What do you mean bad?
In terms of fantasy, bad. But in terms of Arsenal, tricky but okay.
Tricky but okay. What do you mean tricky?
We played a match that we're supposed to win easy, but then we had to wait until the closing minutes of the match for us to edge out a win.
Yeah, I remember, I think we were together watching that game, and I told you there is no way Arsenal will draw points against Leicester. It doesn't matter how it will happen, whether through a set piece or not, they would score the winner. And yes, they did. So congratulations though, because wins like those, they give you momentum going forward, because if you imagine that you would have dropped those points, then it's a problem. Yeah. So speaking of that previous match day, what was your takeout points, or your surprise kinds of players that really did well or did bad for that match day?
It was one of those weekends where we remember when we had this conversation last week. It was one of those weekends where those, as you just correctly put it, fortune favors the bold. So for those fantasy players who are bold enough to go with the differentials, so you're talking about Cole Palmer, you're talking about McNeil, then they had a good weekend.
I remember actually you mentioned that if you are banking on some player who you know will do, a cheap player who will do well, was McNeil. But I believe managers out there who are watching this, they don't want to risk with that kind of player anyway. But if you had him in your team, well, you reap big for that. For me, a good performance or a surprise performance was also James Justin for Leicester. The fullback who scored 2 goals against Arsenal. I mean, going into this match, everyone in particular knew that there was a chance that Arsenal would keep a clean sheet, especially if they played all their players who are available and they have no many injuries on the defense. So him scoring 2 goals and them almost grabbing a draw against Arsenal was a surprise performance, and especially fantasy-wise, because I know not many people had him, and that is the performance that I picked out for the weekend, because most of the people that we know trouble. And I also predicted that Bruno it's his time to come back and do wonders and start his season. Unfortunately, things went directly opposite, but I remember also giving a disclaimer that, you know what, I'm no expert here, leave. You can follow Allan, because he really knows how this game is played, especially if you're looking for the long-term kind of management in terms of Fantasy Premier League. Well, let's jump directly onto this match day, and we have a couple of fixtures playing, and we want to take some pickup points from it. We have Crystal Palace playing Liverpool. Liverpool is away from home. Arsenal playing Southampton. I'll pick the big 6, of course, because most of our players usually come from most of the big 6, and then we add other players from other teams. And then we have Man City playing at home against Fulham. And then we also have Aston Villa hosting Manchester United. And lastly, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest. And we also have Brighton Spurs. So looking at these fixtures, we have those managers probably looking forward to just have it good or repeat well in match day 7. What do you think, which players are most likely to perform well for this match day?
Okay, so just before I get to that, just on previously what you had mentioned, I think the biggest surprises for me was Cole Palmer. We all expect Cole Palmer to perform, but then not 4 goals in the first half.
In the first half.
Then the players that laid a big egg in our faces, of course, Haaland, with a measly 2 points. Then Saka,
as well, not involved in any of the goals Arsenal scored.
It was pathetic. But then moving on to your question, so if we're looking at game week 7
now,
the usual suspects for me. So if you're looking to, so for those who have, maybe you have rolled over transfers and you have maybe 2 or 3 transfers, then you can look at Arsenal, you can look at Man City. So, but for Arsenal, I'll be a bit cautious. So Arsenal, for their next 2 fixtures, they have good fixtures just before the international. So we have Soton before the international break.
Yes.
Then Bournemouth after the international break. So those are two good fixtures for you to have Arsenal players. Then also, if you look at also Man City, then that's also I think this time round
like an easier fixture.
Yeah, this time round Fulham at home. They have Haaland, they have Vardiol in defense. If you want to go Rico Lewis in defense. So Arsenal,
Foden, I saw Foden has scored his first goal of the season, I guess, in the Champions League. He did it.
But then we are not so sure. So the thing
if he will start.
Okay. Because if he doesn't start, then maybe he's brought on maybe in the 80th minute and Man City is already leading. Then it's a problem for you.
Yeah, for sure. So we might not know if he will start.
Then of course Chelsea. I think last weekend, as you had correctly said, I don't know why you didn't go with him in your fantasy team, but this is also an opportunity for fantasy players to also have Cole Palmer in their squads.
Yeah. But someone is out there thinking, how can I get Cole Palmer probably if I have other players in the team? I think it's easy. You mentioned that we can bank on, of course, the obvious suspects, Salah, Haaland, and Saka to be in your team in this coming match day. But then again, if you feel like Salah is not going to perform, especially against, maybe they're playing away at Crystal Palace, then you can now substitute him for Cole Palmer. But you know, these are gambles, and it's up to you to always decide. So we've mentioned all these players, but again, someone is out there is asking himself or themselves, who am I most likely to captain among these players then?
Haaland. Yeah, given that Haaland did have like a really good game against Arsenal. He struggled against Newcastle. I think this is now an opportunity for him now to come good and maybe show us what he's made of. I see him, if the Man City play well, I see him scoring at least 2 goals. But then again, if you want to give, last weekend I gave Saka an opportunity as captain, as my captain, but then he embarrassed me. But again, if you want to go differential, they are playing Soton. Soton at home. Soton just lost the other day 3-1 to Bournemouth. This is a good also opportunity for Saka to be really good in the Premier League.
I think you are right, and Saka is actually one of the main men for Arsenal right now. I think it was just unfortunate, or the way the game is being played, especially for Arsenal right now. He's not getting most of the chances to score, I believe, because most of the time when he's scoring, he's creating the chances mostly by himself. And the person also who was trying to feed him maybe on the wing is Odegaard. When Odegaard plays, he creates more chances. And again, right now, I think he's one of the people or the players at Arsenal who they bank on in terms of creativity. So that's why probably he didn't get a lot of goals, because now he's trying to pass the ball to other people and things like that. But I think against Soton, he has a chance, especially after laying an egg for us in the previous match day. I believe he can score or assist. He'll have a good game. So if you're looking for differential, also from my side, I would recommend him
as captain. But then, as you said, is, you see, the thing with fantasy, the good thing with fantasy is you don't lose any money. You just get that a bit of excitement, a bit of adrenaline and whatnot. You get to practice your football management skills, if I can put it like that. But
do you know, there are managers out there watching this, and they are in the leagues which have very good prizes. So if you say that, then...
so the thing is, but the thing is, for the managers who are in good leagues, then they are not making decisions, like they're not making rash decisions. Of course, they are looking at the bigger picture. So for example, if I'm going to bring in, I'll not just bring in an expensive player for one match. Then maybe by the time I want to get in another player, then it's a bit tricky for me. So for those who are in good leagues, always look at, maybe, for example, that's what I always say, if you're bringing in players from Arsenal, look at their next 3-4 fixtures. Are you going to have Saka in the next 3 or 4 fixtures? Because, for example, after Bournemouth, there are very hard, tricky fixtures for Arsenal. Liverpool, there's Newcastle away
from home.
So you always have to look for maybe the coming 3-4 fixtures before making a transfer.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We've looked at those key players and the probable captains. What of what of other players who are very cheap in the game that people will go for that you think will perform this coming match day? Do you have anybody in particular? We have a number of fixtures. Maybe if I just mention for you, we have Everton playing Newcastle away from home. Do you think that's
okay? Newcastle has been poor, but then because they really played well against Man City, so I think their confidence is back. Yeah. So I'll not maybe now just be saying now we go again. We have to go with McNeil. Maybe I'll still go with a player like Mbeumo. Is in a lot of our teams. But then if you don't have him in your team, then I feel like if there's anyone going to score for Brentford, then it's going to be him. So he's a player maybe I'll be looking to bring in. And then the other player, as I've said, from Chelsea. Other than just Cole Palmer. Remember that also is not maybe being mentioned a lot, but Jackson is giving good returns, either maybe 1 goal and an assist or some assist. So again, is another player you can look at if you don't want maybe to go. But then you can also look at Watkins, Aston Villa playing Manchester. And if you're looking at Watkins, maybe you can maybe go from maybe Havertz. So for those people who have Havertz, you can go maybe from Havertz to Watkins. That's a good. Watkins against Manchester at home. It's a good fixture. Whether Manchester wins or Aston Villa,
there is a big chance.
As long as there are goals in there, Watkins is a big chance among the goal scorers
or assist.
Yes, definitely.
Good enough. I particularly think we also have Leicester playing at home against Bournemouth. It's been a while since we saw Jamie Vardy on the score sheet.
Yes.
And I also believe maybe you can take a chance on him if you have another striker who's not playing.
He was on my bench for last weekend. He's going to be in my starting 11.
Awesome. So let's go to the crucial points in which our managers out there will be taking out most of the things that they can use, or the points they can use in terms of the choices they can make for the Fantasy Premier League. So we have, these are pinpoint questions, and I just want an answer and probably an explanation if you can. Arsenal is playing Southampton at home, as we saw, and then Man City versus Fulham. Which of these two teams do you think is most likely to keep a clean sheet?
Arsenal. So it's, for me, it's like 1A, 1B. But Arsenal, I don't see Soton. Okay, let's say it's good. But I don't see Soton. Honestly, the way they played against Bournemouth, I don't see Soton like putting any goal past maybe David Raya. So if I'm looking at it, maybe I can even double up on Arsenal defense. But again, Man City at home against Fulham, that's also a good opportunity for you to double up either on defense or maybe have Haaland in attacking and have a Man City defender, say Rico Lewis or Vardy.
Between these two teams, which one do you think will score more goals? Between Arsenal, Soton, Man City, Fulham?
Arsenal. Because again, whom they are playing, not because it's Arsenal. Because Fulham was in the Premier League, in the top flight last season. So they are more seasoned. Soton are just coming in for like after quite some time. So I think Arsenal
will score
3 or 4 goals.
Let's not neglect the other fixtures. They could be hard, but just also a question. Chelsea playing Nottingham Forest at home, and also we have Spurs playing Brighton at home. Who do you think between Cole Palmer and Son will have a better game?
Cole Palmer. Nottingham at home. Nottingham this season has not been that good. Tottenham is Son has not been that good, to be honest. And considering that Son is a very expensive, he's at around 10 million.
10 million, yeah.
So Son is a very premium player, but he's not been giving us the returns. So I'll go with Cole Palmer.
I think
an assist and maybe a goal or 2 goals.
I think I will do as well. As much as Chelsea at home haven't like put up a run the way they've done away from home, I think he's still a player you can bank on because his overall play gets involved directly in goals.
Exactly.
All right. Maybe as we wind up, pick one surprise for the season, for the match day 7.
One surprise. Okay, I'm biased here, but I'm going surprise. But if you say surprise, do you mean just any player or maybe a cheap or
anything you think can work out for our managers?
Okay, I'm not saying people to transfer him in, but for some reason, if you have him in your team, Gabriel Martinelli. Yes.
Yeah,
I think he's just starting to pick up the form, and I see if there's any match that he can do well in the Premier League after a very long time, it's this match.
Martinelli. Yeah, he's been involved in a number of goals Arsenal have scored, especially I think against Leicester. He was on the score sheet and assisted another goal. So he's another player who's picking up form. And as our expert said, he is one of the players that you would need to have in your team. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to transfer other Arsenal players out and have him in and things like that. So on to our league standings as Liquid Sports Show Fantasy Premier League, and there is a surprise because the person who was leading the table dropped all the way from number 1 to number 8. This is the biggest fall since Jericho by one and only Vincent. I think I'll call him and ask, how is this even possible? Because I didn't believe it. But yeah, looking at our standings here, you'll see we have Nick Paul as number 1 at the moment, with his team called B Team with 406 points. We have Zion FC called Theophilus Eshon with 402 points. Number 3, we have David Kibe, Task Force, and with 401 points. And then we have Ideas FC at 400 points. We have Deep Killer at 393 points, which is very good.
I'm curious how many points Vincent has.
382. So I don't know if he played even that much.
I think he might have, because most of the guys who had a bad weekend over the over last weekend was guys who captain Haaland and captain Saka.
Yeah.
So if you captain, for example, if other guys who are captaining maybe players like Mbeumo or McNeil or Cole Palmer. I saw someone who triple captain Cole Palmer.
Wow.
In one of our leagues. So
I think I also saw it. We play a certain private league where and he actually ripped big from it. And congratulations to him and every manager out there was able to captain Cole Palmer because it was a big risk and it paid off. Well, that is all from us. Remember, you can join our Fantasy Premier League league as well. The link is in the comment section and in the description section as well. So that is it up to the next match day, which is 8 after the international break. My name is Brian.
And I'm Allan.
And this is the Liquid Sports Show.